Hey guys, Brett Weiss here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome to another episode of Tales from a Retro Gamer. Now, once again, I'm going to be talking about the Intellivision Amico, a console I'm very excited about, but I'm talking about it because anytime I talk about it, it's because I have something new to say, something that occurs to me about the system. Now, you guys recently saw most of you probably saw the VIP pre-order announcement, gameplay trailer that showed a bunch of different Intellivision Amico games in action. I saw some neat games on there, but it didn't address the three genres of games, three dead genres of games that I really want to see on the Amico. There are three genres that I grew up playing, three types of games that I grew up playing and absolutely loving. The gameplay trailer for the Amico didn't really show me much in that sense. As a matter of fact, only one game in that trailer fit the genres, the types of games I'm looking for from the Amico. Now, I expect the Amico to be around for a good while, and I think these genres will be addressed at some point, but I didn't see them in the gameplay trailer, so that's slightly concerning to me, but we'll see how that goes when the Amico rolls out and when more titles are announced. Now, before I get to those three genres real quick, the three types of games I really want to see from the Amico, I want to talk about the gameplay trailer a little bit. Now, there were some games I'm not super excited about, the ultra casual games. I mean, those are going to be great, family fun and all that, but the ones I'm looking for hardcore games from these three genres I'm talking about. Before I get to that, I am definitely excited about Breakout, because Breakout was the game I discovered in the arcades in 1976 that made me that made me like video games even more than pinball. So having new versions of that on the Amico is going to be awesome. I'm excited about Pong, obviously. Moon Patrol looks great, but those don't fall into the genres that I'm looking for, which I'll get to in a minute. I am looking forward. There's a top-down tank game. I'm a big fan of combat, and this top-down tank game for the Amico looks like an advanced version of Armor Battle, that classic Intellivision game. That's great. Still doesn't fit one of the genres I'm looking for. Skiing, that looks cool. And I got a glimpse at skiing back in November at Video Games Live. Tommy showed Tallarico, showed me that on a cell phone. That's really cool. Great. Still not exactly what I'm looking for. And I'm semi-excited about Echo the Dolphin, you know, the classic Sega Genesis game. It looks like that's going to be on the Amico as well. That's in the trailer. So let's get to those three genres that games that I really want to see on the Amico. Genre number one, slide and shoot. Now, what is slide and shoot? That was a term that the editors of Electronic Games magazine came up with back in the day. Games like Space Invaders, where you moved your ship or firing implement along the bottom of the screen, firing upward. They called those slide and shoot games. Now they just call them fixed screen shooters or non-scrolling shooters or whatever. But back in the day, there were slide and shoot games. And in the trailer, the Amico gameplay trailer, there is one game, the updating of Astrosmash. Astrosmash is one of my favorite Intellivision games. It's a favorite, you know, Intellivision fans love this game, especially Intellivision fans that like the more action-oriented games for the Intellivision, people that like shooters for the Intellivision. Astrosmash is definitely a slide and shoot game, but that's the only game in that trailer that fits into the three genres of games that I'm really excited about, that hopefully the Amico will resurrect. These are three genres of games that have sort of died. Now, sometimes with, you know, different, like independently programmed games or downloads or whatever, you'll see some of these genres, but they're sort of dead. Now, the slide and shoot genre includes games like I mentioned, Space Invaders, which in 1978, when I discovered Space Invaders in the arcades, I was super excited about that. I'd never seen anything like that before. It was a whole new type of gameplay. And then when it came out for the 2600 in 1980, with different options and things, that's what I want to see on the Amico. Something sort of like Space Invaders, and if you'll remember the Intellivision, they had Space Armada, which was sort of a Space Invaders clone. I want to see something like that on the Amico that takes the Space Invaders concept and amps it up, you know, with different types of aliens, different types of weapons, and just, you know, get me excited for that. Get me excited for a new Space Invaders type game. Other slide and shoot games that you guys might remember, Moon Cresta. That was a game I discovered at the local mall back in the early 80s, and I was like, wow, this is kind of like Galaxian, but, you know, kind of different, so very cool. I was excited about that. Speaking of Galaxian, that's a classic slide and shoot game. Phoenix is probably maybe one of my 2 or 3 favorite slide and shoot games of all time. I would love to see, Phoenix or something like Phoenix on the Amico. And as a matter of fact, the Intellivision back in the day did have a game that was similar to Phoenix. It was called Demon Attack. Now you may remember Demon Attack on the Atari 2600, very popular shooter for the console. Well, the Intellivision got a different kind of Demon Attack that had better graphics and a mothership and planet Earth in the background. Just an awesome game because you're on the moon, sliding and shooting back, and moving your ship back and forth, firing upward. I would love to see, if not Demon Attack, they don't have the license for that, something similar to that in Phoenix. Those are similar games. I would love to see the Amico take that type of game and just amp it up times 10. That would be awesome. Galaga, one of the most loved slide and shoot games of all time. Everyone loves Galaga. You still see it everywhere today. Something like that on the Amico, something like Galaga, but just, like I said, times 10. Galaga on steroids, you might say. So the slide and shoot genre, I would really love to see revived on the Amico. To me, that's what the Amico, that's why I'm excited about that system. Not so much for card games or gambling simulators or cornhole or shuffleboard. Those will be neat multiplayer party games, but what I'm looking forward to, what I want to see out of the Amico, is hardcore old school genres like the slide and shoot genre. Number 2, climbing games. Now back before side-scrolling platformers were a thing, before Super Mario Brothers and those type of games, there were climbing games, which we now call fixed screen platformers or non-scrolling platformers. Back in the day, games like Donkey Kong, Miner 2049er, Burger Time, all those kinds of games were called climbing games. And ones I would like to see, so my favorite Intellivision game of all time and one of my favorite climbing games of all time is Beauty and the Beast for the Intellivision. Not to be confused with a Disney property. This was an Intellivision game that is just my absolute favorite game of all time. I like these kind of games, climbing games, slide and shoot games, because they're easy to pick up and play. No instruction manual needed for the most part. You can just pick them up, play them, just immediately start climbing or shooting or moving around or whatever. And to me, the Amico, being aimed at older gamers or casual fans or the pick up and play market, these types of genres are perfect for that. Other climbing games I recall, Space Panic, brilliant port for the ColecoVision of a classic arcade game. The first climbing game I know of, and I believe it's the first climbing game of all time, Crazy Climber, the first game where climbing is the central objective of the game. I'd like to see kind of a variation of Crazy Climber on the Amico. Now the Amico is going to have some, they're going to license some of these type of titles, but the ones that they don't actually license the specific games, clones, I'm perfectly fine with clones, as long as they add new levels, new types of gameplay, new elements, new aliens, new enemies, make it different enough to where it's something new, where it's not just a blatant copy. I would love to see the climbing game genre resurrected. Now I know there's, like I said, like the Switch. The Switch does have a new type of Burger Time, and speaking of Burger Time, that's one of the classic climbing games. Intellivision had a phenomenal version of Burger Time that had some stuff even the ColecoVision didn't have. It had an extra level, it had 7 screens, and it had a catch-up. Burger Time was a great Intellivision game. I would love to see that brought up to the Amico. Why not a Burger Time with 15 levels on the Amico? We'll see if that happens. I would love to see that. So let's bring back the climbing genre on the Amico. And I didn't see any climbing games on that trailer that we saw recently with all those Amico games, but I'm sure they will have some at some point. Number 3. The third and final genre I really, really want to see on the Amico, the genre I want the Amico to bring back, is the maze game. This is one of my favorite maze genres of all time. Now you may be thinking, if you saw the trailer, well, Night Stalker, that's a maze game. Yeah, it sort of is. It's kind of like a maze shooter, and you do move around a maze. I'm talking about dot-eating maze games like you saw with Sega's Head-On way back in the game, the dot game that predated Pac-Man, but games like Pac-Man, where you go around a maze eating dots, avoiding enemies and all that kind of stuff. And Intellivision did have Pac-Man, and the Amico is probably not likely to get actual Pac-Man, but I would be perfectly happy with Pac-Man clones, something that ups the ante. And I remember back in the day in the arcades, I loved Pac-Man, but after a while I got tired of it, and I was super excited when Miss Pac-Man came out. Wow, here's 4 new mazes, and faster, more dynamic gameplay. And then Super Pac-Man, which had some totally different elements, like you getting giant and moving at super speeds and unlocking doors and things. I'd love to see that on the Amico, sort of a Pac-Man style games, but with new elements like that. you know, something to get me really excited about the maze genre again. Mousetrap, I would love to see a game like Mousetrap on the Intellivision Amico. And Mousetrap is actually similar to Lock and Chase, which was one of the arcade ports on the Amico, where, you know, not only do you go around, you know, eating dots, you're, you know, unlocking doors and whatever. And I would love to see maybe a new version of Lock and Chase on the Amico, and, you know, just something like that with, you know, like I said, different enemies, maybe a different storyline. Just revive the maze genre. I would love to see that on the Amico. Some other favorites. My favorite ColecoVision game of all time is Ladybug. Just a phenomenal game. I'd love to see something like that on the Amico. Even if they didn't get the Ladybug license, I would love to see maybe, you know, some type of Ladybug type game on the Amico. And just like I said, amp it up. Make it modern graphics, or maybe even like 8-bit or 16-bit style, you know, maybe like some of the best looking games on the NES, some of the best looking games on the Super Nintendo, that style of graphics just brought to the Amico with these old school genres, like the maze genre. Even something like Cat Tracks for the Arcadia 2001, something like that on the Amico. Bring back the maze genre. Bring new mazes, new possibilities with maze games, you know, maybe even scrolling mazes, whatever. Just something to revive 3 of my favorite genres of all time. The slide and shoot genre, the climbing genre, and the maze genre. And again, with this new trailer with all these Amico games, a lot of them look fun, but they didn't really address the 3 genres I was looking for except for Astrosmash. All right, guys, in the comments below, what genres would you like to see the Amico tackle? Now, I thought of platformers. I would love to see some great side-scrolling platformers on the Amico, but I didn't include that in this because that I don't think that genre has particularly died. There are a ton of side-scrolling platformers, especially like for iOS and things, simplistic ones and whatnot. So I don't think the side-scrolling platformer has quite died as much as the 3 genres I mentioned. Those have, and again, there are still Pac-Man clones being made. There are still Space Invaders clones being made. There are still Donkey Kong clones being made. But those 3 genres that I mentioned have kind of faded to the background. I would love to see those brought to the forefront with new innovative ideas, and I think the Amico could do that. That's what I'd like to see. So put in the comments below what genres you would like to be brought back. Now, with comments, last episode of Tales from a Retro Gamer, I did an episode about Funcoland, my memories of Funcoland, buying super cheap games for my collections and to resell. And I asked you guys, what Funcoland memories did you guys have? And I got a lot of great feedback from you guys, and I'm going to read one from Video Game Obsession. Now, if you haven't, go to videogameobsession.com, just a fantastic website. And here's what Video Game Obsession said. And he goes, this is my buddy Matt Hensel. He goes, I managed a few Babbage's stores in the 90s. Around that time, they purchased Funcoland and would move the traded-in stock to many of Babbage's stores to keep their used stock replenished. I'd buy used NES carts from our store during buy one, get one free deals, along with my 30% discount. At the time, we would pay a flat rate of 50% per NES cart and sell them for $5 each. So Babbage's was taking in NES games for just 50 cents, no matter what it was, and Babbage's would sell them for $5. And it didn't matter, Matt continues, it didn't matter which game it was, though we stopped taking in Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt carts because we had about 20 of those at any one time. It also didn't matter if the games were cart only or a factory sealed copy, which we sometimes traded in. Anyway, over the course of about 5 years, I bought over 600 NES games from our store for about an average of $2 each. I also used to sell a few of the rarer finds on eBay. Some of the better finds that I was lucky to find for that price included Bonk's Adventure, Power Blade 2, Donkey Kong Jr. Math, Metal Storm, Kickmaster, Mega Man 1 through 6, Dragon Warrior 1 through 4, Scat, Frankenstein, Zen the Intergalactic Ninja, just to name a few. I'm glad I picked them up when I did. I currently have 500 distinct NES loose carts and nearly 130 complete NES games. Yeah, back when Funcoland was selling games so cheap, it was just an incredible time to be a collector. Thanks, Matt, for sharing that. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for liking this video. Thank you for hitting that subscribe button. And I do have a Patreon page if you want to check it out. And what's kind of funny, just recently I had 2 new patrons, and one was Josh Smith, And then just a few days later, Joshua Smith joined. So thanks both of you guys. And you can just Google Brett Weiss Patreon, and I will also put that in the link below. All right, guys, thank you much for watching. I will talk to you later. I hope you guys are healthy, safe, and strong, and having a good time. Talk to you later. Peace out.